Round 5. Yes, I know there was no round 4, but round 5. How good was round 5? We started on the Thursday, we finished on the Monday, and round 6 starts up again on the Wednesday. What a round of footy this is going to be. What 2 weeks, and might I say, what a round of footy this was. Hey guys, what's up? Busy2135 here. Welcome back to this weekly segment, even though I missed a week in round 4 just because I was so busy, of the AFL round review. This week, just finished up round 5. Let's just jump straight into this one. We started on the Thursday night with the Pies, and can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. The Magpies really reminded us how good of a team they actually are. Brisbane, all the build-up, all the hype over Brisbane. Even I hyped them up in my round 3 review for being 3-0, I believe. They've lost their last 2 now, one in Melbourne. Brisbane have never played good in Melbourne, so it's not really a surprise there. And then they top it off with a home loss at the Gabba. Not a good size, especially seeing it was by about 60 points. Collingwood just reminded us the great team that they are, the style of football that got them into the grand final. And Collingwood would have to be red hot favourites heading into this game against Essendon on Anzac Day. It's going to be a cracker, that one. Brisbane, however, got some talking points, got some things to fix up for round 6. As for Collingwood, really, what can you change? You know, they played perfectly all night, that one. Brisbane have got the Q clash this week against the Gold Coast Suns. This is going to be the first ever really, really good Q clash because both sides are in pretty good form right now. As for Collingwood, the Anzac Day game that I touched on, I will be tipping the Pies. For that one, Essendon's only win. Speaking of the Bombers, they just had a really good win over North Melbourne on Good Friday. They killed them, right? North have got some major red flags going off over there. They can't buy a crowd. There was, 48,000 there on Friday, and majority of them were Bombers from what I saw, and even AFL vlogs on YouTube that I saw, majority were Essendon. So we need to keep in mind the fact that Essendon's only wins to Brisbane, who can't win in Melbourne. They've really been average. They did win against North at Marvel. That says something. It's North, right? So they beat Brisbane. They beat a really, really average and struggling Melbourne side. And then they won this week against North. So the Bombers, if they play this form, I really think they'll contend with the Pies, but I think the Pies will be just one up. As for North Melbourne, going to travel to South Australia, take on Port Adelaide. They're going to struggle with that one. I think the Power will come out on top for that one. I think North need a complete wipe. They need to wipe their entire game plan. They need to actually change a lot of their list, if I'm being honest. And they really need to start fixing some things up. But I'd love to see them succeed. Speaking of which, the Power knocked off the Eagles. What? How did that happen? The Eagles, they pretty much never lose at Optus. It's actually funny, heading into this game, they had only ever lost at Optus 3 times, which, of course, being last year, the first season of Optus Stadium, I believe, off of memory, one of them was to Sydney, but I couldn't tell you who the rest were. I know we came close last year, but last year really wasn't our year. Onto it some more. Port Adelaide were just too good. They came in with a game plan to play some really dirty footy. It was really scrappy in terms of West Coast really are good up in the air. Like, they can fly for their grabs. You got Flying Ryan, Jeremy McGovern at the back, Josh Kennedy in the forward. You know, they go up for the big grabs, the big flies. At Port Adelaide, they made sure none of their shots came in really high. They were really low. They were really stabby kicks, and that's what completely took them out of the game. The wet weather would have played a toll with it, with the Eagles, because they're so used to such nice weather in Perth. However, the Eagles have to go to Geelong this week to take on the Cats, who are coming off a good win against the Hawks. But I'm tipping the Eagles this week. I've got an Eagles comeback coming forward. The Eagles go there. Port come back home, take on North, as I touched on before. So I will be tipping Power, and I'll be tipping the Eagles. Speaking of messing up tips, this week was just crap to tip. How did the Dockers beat the Giants in Canberra? The Giants were, I believe it was 9 straight in Canberra from memory, coming forward and just, that was unreal. That was unreal. Not many people would have tipped that. I know one person in my tipping comp, my personal tipping comp with friends and family, actually tipped the Dockers, and I was like, you didn't mean that. You didn't look where it was played. You didn't understand GWS coming off winning against the Giants. You don't know football! But they got it, and I'm currently sitting on top of my football tips at the moment, and I believe I'm second in my work competition. The Giants, though, have some talking points heading into this week, and so do the Dockers. The Dockers played really, really well. It just comes down whether or not they can carry this form into the new week, and the Giants need to learn from where they went wrong and fix it, because that's not the normal GWS side that we're used to seeing play. Dockers have the Dogs at home at Optus, and GWS have, I believe it's the Battle of the Bridge, or whatever you call it, Sydney Derby. GWS versus Sydney. Sydney at home. I'm never tipping Sydney at home ever again. Therefore, the Giants should come on top, and so should the Dockers. They're my predictions. Now, on to the game that all I want to do is talk about, the Saints and the D's. I tipped us in this one, being a Saints fan that I am. We just played unreal. The first quarter, the way we started was really scrappy. That second quarter, we came out hot. And in the third quarter, we came out even hotter. We were moving the ball phenomenally. Membry kicked 4, I believe. Billings was unreal with that soccer one. And even that goal on the siren by Billings to make it 40 points. That was unreal. It's a really good time to be a St Kilda fan. We're 5 weeks into the season, and we're 4-1. We only won 4 games all of last year, all 22 games. We had 4 wins and a draw against the Giants. So it's a really fun time to be a St Kilda fan. We got the Crows this week at Marvel Stadium. Now, Marvel Stadium, I believe this year, we're going to be hard to beat there. You know, we love the roof closed. People really complained about the surface at Marvel Stadium, but personally, I love the ground. I love turning up and having the roof closed. I think it's awesome. I love how the AFL are actually jumping onto the roof closed idea. However, the Crows, coming off the game that they are off, I think if they carry this form over, it'll be a really, really big heart stopper like the Hawks game. If you guys haven't seen the vlog for that, make sure you check that out. It's my newest video other than this one. And I believe if I head down to St Kilda versus Adelaide this week, which if I do, I'll be on my own like a loner, but we're here for the football. For about 48 hours, we were sitting on top of the ladder. It wasn't at a good time to be a Saints fan. I know I had to deal with all the memes and all the crap like that, but it was still really, really fun. I got the jersey on, the jersey that we wore to beat the D's. I got Josh Bruce number on the back, and I'm loving the Saints this year, but I think we should move on to the next game. The next game was Richmond versus Sydney. Sydney away are normally a lot better. That was not the case in this frame. Shout out to Buddy Frankelno for surpassing Matthew Lloyd on the all-time goal kickers list. Buddy will get 1,000. There is absolutely no doubt about that. Especially seeing that his contract with Sydney is done at the end of next year, but there are talks about him being traded at the end of this year, which I'm all for it. You know, spice it up a bit, spice up the game. You know, obviously Buddy at Sydney right now is not working. Why not try something new? Why not give someone else a chance? And if another club does invest in Buddy, whether it's by trades or whatever, it's going to sell tickets, you know. And I think that's my opinion. Gary Ablett coming back to Geelong was for Geelong to sell tickets, you know. And I might get hated for that, but that at the time that was my opinion. And I believe if he were to go to Hawthorn, it would be perhaps the same reasons. Or if he went to Collingwood. Collingwood's one of the big talking points at the moment. You know, that it'd sell tickets, it'd make people come down to the games, and that's what's important. You know, you want people to come down. As for the Swans as a whole, they really played very average game against the Tigers, but the Tigers had a strong first half. You know, you can't take that away. Dusty in his first game back from his suspension was unreal. He got the best on crowd. I think it was 3 or 4 goals. He was playing in the forward line, I realised watching the game, and he was really good. You know, like he was back to sort of the old Dustin Martin that we're used to, but we can't say that for sure. You know, Tigers got the win. They go to 3-2, and the Swans are sitting on 1 win at the moment. And like I said earlier, they're coming in hot against the Giants. All I'm going to say is the Swans could be looking at a 1-5 start. That's all I'm going to say. The Tigers, however, will start things off on Wednesday night against the D's, and the D's are really struggling at the moment. They need to change something. But in my opinion, the D's will bounce back and return back to their 2018 form. I thought it was going to be this week against us. I didn't expect us to win. But Melbourne, we know they are a good team. We know that. We saw that last year. They made it all the way to the prelim. Ever since that prelim against the Eagles, everything's just gone down. You know, it's nothing's really seemed to work, or nothing seemed to click like it did last year, if you understand. Although Richmond played a good game, and they're coming back to the MCG for the first time in 3 weeks. It'll be a big turnout. Anzac Day Eve footy, it's always a big game, that one. And hopefully the Tigers can go 4-2 and start to run up the ladder a bit, because they were under some pressure when they were down there. Before they beat Port, they were under a lot of pressure. Then we move on to the Sunday games. How good were those? Carlton cracking 100 for the first time in 59 games. I remember watching that. I was in the staff room with my manager. We turned it on, there's 20 seconds left. We wanted to see whether or not they get it. And I can't remember the player, but he then bananaed it right foot. And as it was in midair going through the goals, the siren went. It was such a good moment for the Blues. Brendan Bolton was smiling. He was happy after looking like he wanted to die after the game against Gold Coast. You know, it was good. It was really good for the Blues to get this turnout. In my opinion, the Dogs are in trouble. And actually, no, that's not an opinion. The Dogs are in trouble. They're now coming off of losses to Gold Coast and Carlton. You know, at their home games at Marvel Stadium. How are you going to expect members and fans to turn up to your games if you're not stepping up to the plate? You know, Dogs kicked 7 goals, and I think it was like 15 or 16 points. I can't quite remember. The Dogs were just shocking, you know. And I remember commenting on it when I was watching the first half. The Blues were on the Coventry side and the Dogs were on the Lockett end of Marvel Stadium. Over on the Blues end, there was not a spare seat. It was full. They were packed. Everybody was just coming through to watch their Blues, you know, watch their side after the contest that they gave Gold Coast. And then Bulldogs, I'm willing to say it wasn't even 40% full, you know. It was really empty. It was a really poor turnout for Dogs fans. And it was just a poor game for the Dogs, you know. And in my opinion, Luke Beveridge is the coach under the most pressure this year. He took the Dogs to a premiership. Might I add, the year they won the premiership, they made finals from 7th spot. So they were never the best team in the AFL, nor were they close to it, you know. Like, there were 6 teams that had better seasons than them, above them. And I believe, I could be wrong, that's the only year he's made finals in his coaching career at the Dogs. So I think the Dogs really need to fix things up. And I think that Carlton winning is a sign of what's to come from Carlton, you know. That they are... You gotta give full credit to them. They played awesome. Everyone's happy. Everyone's getting all around the Blues. I'm getting around the Blues. I'm really happy for them. And hopefully they get more wins this year. I really hope they do. Adelaide absolutely killed Gold Coast just after at Adelaide Oval. Crows have to come back here to take on us. However, if North Melbourne, when they played North, was an indicator, they're not very good at Marvel, you know. So all favour for the Saints. Looking at a 5-1 start. No, I'm getting ahead of myself. I can't get ahead of myself. No, I'm a St Kilda supporter. The Crows played amazing. They ended up scoring 119, and I believe they were only on 9 at quarter time or somewhere around that. It was a really low scoring game at the start. I don't know why. I didn't watch this game. But how good was Eddie Betts? I'm going to play that for you. Check this out. Goal of the year.
Here's Sloan in the pocket. Eddie Harbrow. Eddie. Oh,
yes!
Oh, yes! Yes! You're a magician! That's what the crowd wanted, and that's exactly what they got. Vintage Eddie Betts.
That is a fight in the middle of the ground, but who cares? Because Eddie's...
On the other hand, Gold Coast, they got the Q Clash this week. You know, hopefully for Gold Coast's sake, that was a one-time game or one-time effort from them. They played very average. They played very suckish throughout the game, and I hope that they step it up against the Lions. I will be tipping the Lions. I believe that they have more to bounce back from, having 2 bad games against Collingwood and Essendon. However, with Gold Coast, they've got the young list that they could just run teams off their legs if they really needed to. And Gold Coast need to fix up their goal accuracy. They've been very average all year. So I think that's a big talking point for Stewie Jew. And hopefully the Suns can have a good game against the Lions and really contend with them. The last game of the round was the Easter Monday clash, which happened just a few hours ago of me recording this. The Cats were just too good for the Hawks on the other hand. 90 was what the Hawks scored, and that was the most points that the Cats have conceded all year. The Cats won every single quarter except the last quarter. The last quarter, Geelong only scored 2 goals, 1, which I believe was, they just took their foot off the pedal. They thought it was a win, but Hawthorn, when I said Gold Coast, Hawthorn, really, it looked like there was going to be a comeback there. They played really nicely. When Ricky Henderson bananaed that shot from the Dom Sheed pocket, you know, I had hope that the Hawks were going to come up and steal it. I was rooting for the Hawks in this one, even though I had tipped the Cats, because this would have stayed the same if the Hawks hadn't won. However, that is not the case. We're down 1 spot at 2nd place. How good is that? The Cats have a few things to work on in their clash against the Eagles, and the Hawks have Carlton this week. Now, Hawthorn need to come into this game expecting to be versing someone like your West Coast or your Collingwood. They can't go into it thinking it's Carlton. You know, Carlton proved that they can run teams off their legs and they can execute on the inside 50s and their opportunities, you know. Just because of the way that they played against the Dogs, I think it's really important that the Hawks understand what Carlton are playing for and then double it with what they need to play for, because the Hawks need to win. And then the Hawks have the D's after the Blues. So, you know, it's 2 easy wins right there. They can't drop any of those games, and hopefully they pick them up. I really like Hawthorn. I really hope that they continue their way up. However, it just comes down to the work that Clarko and the boys willing to put in. So this was my round 5 review. Thank you so much for watching this, guys. It means the world to me when you guys watch these videos. If you want to help me out, hit the like button or put down a comment of something I said that you agree with or disagree with, or even your own opinion about what I said. Now, thank you so much for watching the video. If you like this or want more AFL content, make sure you hit subscribe. I'll be doing round reviews and AFL vlogs from when I go down to the game. Not just St Kilda games, there's some Hawthorn games I'm going to go down to with my partner, and possibly a few other teams with some friends or whatever. As in the meantime, I'm BZD135. Thank you for watching. Stay cool, guys.